All right.
Man, how you feel, boss? You expected those days before.
Come on, Jimmy.
What's up, Jimmy?
All right, I'd like to call this Finance and Legislation meeting to order. Mr. Burnside.
Here.
Mr. Ballack.
Here.
Mr. Bigley is here. We have a few pieces of legislation this evening, but first we have some guests. ECMSI. I don't know who the speaker is from you guys. Everybody? Sure. Ralph?
Sure, why not?
Sure. Floor is yours, Ralph.
Oh, am I supposed what am I supposed to tell you?
Well, your views and discussions on
On the building?
162.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, the building, obviously, it's been my opinion for a long time that the building, it's very difficult to renovate and very difficult to put businesses in there because of the parking that's there. Back in the day when I started and Eric Ryan was down here, I had 4 cars over there. He used to share my parking lot. It wasn't a big deal, you know, because he had the restaurant, that kind of stuff going on. Now that we have so many employees there, it would be very difficult for anybody to buy that building and really utilize it for anything that I could see of any purpose, because who's gonna buy the building and have no parking?
I guess my question to you is, Ralph, if the building wasn't there, how would that impact your business as far as growth, or do you have plans if that building was gone to expand?
Well, we'll continue to add employees. We've been adding quite a bit of employees over the last few years, and we're gonna continue to grow. You can see the cars we bought. We probably have 5-6 cars sitting there as a fleet right now. Our building can handle another 10-15 people in it for sure. It's just a matter of where they're gonna park and that kind of stuff. And I also think the parking is not just for me. I think the parking is gonna benefit all the renovations you're doing on the other side of the building. That's gonna be there. Where are those people gonna park?
Well, realistically, I mean, in my opinion, I love the building down there, but parking has always been a terrible issue. Congestion as far as pulling in and out at that stop, or at it always has been, you know what I mean? And I'd love to see a new downtown, but I also feel like we need to get rid of some things and make way for a new downtown, or else we're trying to polish the old downtown.
Sure.
Now, I'd love to keep some of the old downtown, but at the same time, we need to make way for a new, better downtown.
I think at the end of the day too is the businesses that have been in that building for the last, even over 20 years, most of them have failed. I think anybody that's coming in there, if they're gonna put food or something else, you're creating $5, $6, $8 an hour jobs. We're in tech, you know, we're hiring skilled laborers that are creating much better tax base, much better jobs, and we are looking to expand. We've already opened up Cleveland, we've opened up in Champion. This is our main hub for our data center, and the job, you know, we're continuing to hire on a daily basis. I mean, we interview. I mean, Dave, how many times? Yeah. I mean, so
now, how many people currently are employed through
30
in this building.
Yeah.
in this building?
Yes.
And if the parking was not an issue, would you have 40? Would you have 45?
Well, I mean, it's you know, we grow as we grow with, you know, obviously we have a level where we determine when we're gonna hire another person based on the revenue and the businesses that we pick up, that kind of stuff.
I guess my thing is,
we're about 20% a year.
Is this hindering your growth?
Doesn't help it, but it would help to have the parking, but yeah.
It was hindering our growth. What we did is we ended up, because of the parking issue, we opened up Warren as a test pilot. And because we had people that were living in Warren instead of having to commute to Youngstown, so we opened up another.
Okay.
You know, we opened up a spot in Warren for the overflow.
Okay.
So I mean, that's.
But this is, like Shane said, this is our main hub. This is going to be the central hub. When we open these other offices, really like Akron, we're going to open up at the end of the year. It's probably 2 or 3 people that will be there. The majority of the work is done at Harvard.
And generally, for your employees, what are your hours of operation?
5 to 8. We're 20 or 8 to 5. We're 24/7, but we're 8 to 5 if we need to get in there.
Okay.
There's also the issue of getting deliveries down there. We're having trouble getting trucks in there now with parking because there's no room with all the cars. They can't get back there. We've actually had to go down the street and transfer stuff from one vehicle to another to get it into our building, that's also not good for us.
Sure. Anybody have any questions for these guys?
So, what are you suggesting be done with that building?
I think it should just be knocked down, personally. Because I think it's in a bad location, it's a hazard around the corner, it's always been a hazard. It's been very difficult to get in and out of the intersection. And I don't think it's a building that's feasible for any business to go in.
Okay, so are you looking to purchase? You want the city to tear it down? What?
I mean, we haven't really come across that. I mean, I don't know what the talks were, originally for the last 2 years, they were gonna keep the building. We didn't really talk about, what.
I guess from our standard, or our standpoint, in my personal opinion, I would like to see the building down and added to public parking downtown.
Yeah.
Which you guys can utilize obviously through your business hours in the day, and then it is still public parking to the rest of the businesses in downtown.
Because if, and it was talked about last week, that if, say for example, your company bought that, tore it down, now it's private parking. Some companies, some businesses downtown are reluctant to let somebody else park it.
That
So
makes sense.
Well, there would be,
We've always let people, I mean, even after hours, Selah, Don Vito, we've been very open. I mean, as the company's grown during the day.
But-
And that's a discussion we would have too. The area to the right, the parking that's already there, that would still remain public parking. These are discussions we need to sit down and have.
Right.
We haven't yet, because these quotes that we got are brand new.
Right.
So this is something that has just happened in the last couple weeks. So it's things that we need to sit down and talk about. But they've always been a good community partner when it comes to that stuff. So I would hope that would continue.
well, and honestly, before
especially after hours.
the city went anywhere with this, we would need an MOU. That
Yeah.
we have access to that parking and that isn't gonna change as well. I mean, that is a for sure. But again, it seems like there's 10 different moving parts here that would have to be hashed out before this even becomes any type of reality.
There are other areas downtown. Would you ever think of putting your own parking downtown? Like,
What do you mean?
maybe they're talking about putting parking and we haven't put parking. Isn't that an option to make another parking lot for your building?
We
That's
could be
The only
aware.
problem with that is that we've talked to Brian Palumbo about this, we've talked to Eric Rauschenbaugh, is any kind of real estate that we have, we need to keep for public parking. Because some of the situation that we're in, and it's no fault to them, but Alan, he has his own parking lot, Selah has his own parking lot. Like,
Well,
they all
Alan
have
doesn't
their
really
own-
own that parking lot. He
He
rents
rents
it,
it, but
correct?
it's his. He
pays for it.
for
He
it. So
pays
it's
for it.
his.
So it's his.
Yeah, he
has
has
the
it
right to
repaved, it is, essentially it's his, he doesn't own it, but he leases it.
Which is
But
why
he
it's so
takes care
frowned
of it.
upon if anybody else parks there, because he's the guy paying out of his
for it.
business.
Right.
So we wanna try to get away from, for the future of downtown, we wanna get away from everybody having their own parking spots and being at odds. We need to keep any real estate that we have for that, for the public, for everybody to use. So for all the buildings to be free to use.
But now, obviously, people's private parking is their private
Yes,
parking.
there's nothing.
And that's why we need a community parking downtown that everybody can share.
Yes.
But we are not putting that on the business owners to say, we need your parking.
Right.
We're coming up with parking, or trying to, that it benefits everybody.
Yes, and if it's something that we can sit down and talk with you all, or with Astro Shapes and say after hours, or on the weekends, if it's something where we can have some kind of MOU and say, hey, can we use this as public parking, we assume liability, anything like that, that's what we're gonna be doing with the business owners. With the plan that we have with the $1 million safety study that we got, that's one of the other reasons this is kind of, I don't wanna say an urgent matter, but something that we need to get done fairly quickly, is because we need to make plans for that, for the safety study. So if it is going to be knocked down, we have to have a safe way to go in, a safe way to go out, because these guys, and even when we were there the other day, you're playing, like, you're holding your breath when that light turns and you just go, like, So the
Do it every day.
safety part of it has to be addressed with the safety plan, so we know what needs to be
But
included
that
and
would be a
whatnot.
city lot. Is that what you're
Yes.
saying?
Yes, but
City lot.
that's what we have to discuss. If it's something that,
So it's really not your lot. It wouldn't be it would be yours to use, but again, it would be the city anyways.
Correct.
I'm just saying that it wouldn't an option be if you had areas to put, like, you've talked about putting several other areas of parking downtown.
There is one down the back of Samoa Valley Club that's,
yeah, that's the one
Yeah,
we're
so
gonna
I mean, there is areas to park that your employees could park, they just have to walk.
Yeah, but that building, if you're saying that
I mean, yeah.
is
that
not
is-
tearing down that building and doing that.
Well, what I'm saying is if the building doesn't get torn down, isn't
Yeah.
that an option that, like, there's other parking that you
There
could-
is. I don't think any businesses will move into that building. That's not gonna get torn down just because people have many options to go places. It's tough enough to go, who likes to go downtown Youngstown just because there's not a great way of parking? We're spoiled. We can go to Boardman and you go to any restaurant and you could park right in the parking lot, or you could, who was gonna
Well,
come
did you go to
downtown?
Hubbard? Did you ever go to Hubbard? You can't park there either, but man, everybody goes to Hubbard.
Yeah, but
I don't.
I think you look at.
No,
I mean, that's within the
Uh-uh.
community though.
Do you go?
No.
You go to Hubbard?
Never.
You go to Hubbard. Tell me how many times you go to Hubbard to eat. Okay,
We're
so,
spoiled, we're
so
spoiled.
right, I mean, I'm just
There
being
is a
honest,
mindset
to
there that
like,
we have to change. There's a happy medium that we have to change the mindset of people, and we have to do that while we have the money to do that. And we have to take those opportunities when they come. So it is like you said, people do go there, and it is a mindset, but you have to, our downtown is different from anybody else's. We have the railroad, we have so many different things happening at once. We have to kind of fit the puzzle piece where it's gonna benefit the businesses the best. Like we had a meeting a few weeks ago with every single stakeholder downtown, and we sat down. We know their needs are different from Scene's needs, or different from Astor Shapes, or different from Simona Valley. Like they all need things different, and we have to focus on how do we make this not only good for the businesses but for the overall city. So sometimes that's not the decision that we want to make. Do I want to tear this building down? No. But is it in the best interest of the city? I do feel it is.
Is it in
And that's
the best
decisions
interest
that we're
of the
elected
city
to do.
moving forward, paving way for a new downtown?
Yes, but is it
Yes,
what we
it-
want?
it-
No, but it is where we're at this point. We tried with $150,000 guarantee for over 3 years, and even before that, this building was on the sheriff's sale for how many years? It's not like we didn't try, like we didn't bring over 30 different investors there. It's not like we didn't.
But it's also, when the city takes these properties, which I'll be honest, normally I'm against. The city isn't a real estate company, okay? But this is how it's done in other places as well. Youngstown does the same thing with their land bank. They take these properties to make sure they don't go from my hands to Megan's hands and she does nothing with it.
Yep.
And then it goes to Jimmy's hands and he does nothing with it. They are managing these properties. They're responsible for them the same way we are with this one now. So do you want a business or do you want to hand this to someone you have no financing in place? You don't know what the place is going to be. That's never going to happen. You would be fools to let this go out of your hands and into somebody's hands without a clear-cut path to success. Mm-hmm. That's why you took it in the first place. Because everybody wants it. Everybody says they're going to do this, they're going to do that. We're going to put an office space. How much office space are we going to have downtown? We got attorneys flooding downtown that they need office. It's just not feasible. You need a franchise down there that will be a staple in the middle of downtown. You're never going to get that in these buildings. You need to make way for something new to come there.
I agree.
You don't need to level everything, but you do need to take key aspects of this down where there is room to possibly have a future expansion. That is my opinion.
And this may be a decision that nobody's going to like, and that's part of our job as elected officials, is to do what's in the best interest of the city as a whole. We're not always going to make decisions that people like. That's just how it is. But I think people trust us enough to know that we're doing as much as we can with what we have for the best interest of everybody as a whole. Go ahead, Mark. Sorry.
That's right. That building, so if someone remodels it, updates it, whatever you want to call it, are they going to spend that kind of money in downtown Struthers and get their money back?
So, to my key point before about a franchise, I do believe a franchise is something we need down there. We have none. We have no mainstream franchisees whatsoever down there. And I feel like that is a cornerstone in a downtown, right? What are the tax dollars that is going to bring versus the tax dollars of having office space? They're not even on the same level. They're not on the same planet.
Right.
And you are not going to get a franchisee in these buildings. They just don't do it. Go to get a franchise. They're building a new building. That everybody knows.
Right.
That is what they're going to do to their specifications. So you could revamp these all you want, and that might work for some of them, but it's not going to get us to that next step of a downtown that I think we all want.
And
If we're putting a parking lot there, though, we're not going to get a franchise there anyways.
Well, no, but
You're
now you're
building
going to
a
have parking to support the rest of the businesses. It's great. Everybody loved the cellar. Everybody. That was 20 years ago.
Gone, yeah.
Everybody loved that. I mean,
It is
everybody
fun.
has
The
fond
buil-
memories
the
and they hate to
building
see
is
it tore down.
dilapidated.
But at the end of the day, it is a black hole in the middle of our
not doing
downtown.
anybody
But we
any
also
good.
don't want to get into a situation either where, like, nix, like we're in emergency, okay, it's literally falling down, we
Yeah, you have to
bring
tear it down.
We don't wanna get into that
I
situation.
tried forever with Nix, and when we did sell it to this woman, we made sure that she had funding in place to do what she was supposed to do. We did all of the things we were supposed to do, and at the end of the day, the woman did nothing, and the place got tore down anyway because it was beyond repair. It was, I'm glad it got tore down. I would have liked to see that block get tore down and potentially get a franchisee down there. I mean, my opinion.
Well, to be fair, I mean, I think you guys have done your due diligence. You've tried to get investors in here. Investors have looked at the building, and I think anybody would be crazy to come in at this point. I've been there for, I don't know, whatever, years, and I've seen 3 businesses go through there, and that's when they were less busy down that time. And so I can't see anybody putting millions into that building and say, I have no parking for the millions that I'm about to put into that building. That's the bottom line. It's just not a good spot. I mean, it's on the corner. There's no parking.
But it never was. Even when there were businesses there that we liked going to, it didn't change the fact that that was horrible to get in and out of, and it was a hindrance. I mean.
And there were times 3 years ago when we did get the building, we were at odds. And I'm like, no, we're keeping it, we're gonna try, we're gonna do this, but we're at a point where it's
you tried.
It's just not.
If it was valuable, somebody would have bought it, or something. You're basically giving it away to let somebody do something with it, and nobody wants it.
And we actually had a $150,000 guarantee for anybody that would purchase the building.
But we also don't want to give this
nothing.
business to somebody, or this building to somebody who's going to try something that,
Right.
in our eyes, isn't going to work. Then we're back to where we were prior. So,
That's all.
Yeah.
That's all we got. I mean, I think it's a good centralized parking for all those businesses that are there now that they're renovating next to the other building, the old law offices and all that stuff right there. It would be an ideal spot with the way you're mapping it out. So people will walk that far to go to any of those businesses.
And obviously you guys are all right with after hours parking, correct?
Yeah, nobody's, okay.
well, currently, I mean, the way it's situated right now, it would be city park.
Well, yeah.
You know what I mean?
But I mean, on their property.
Yeah, they do that now.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
It's more of I mean, as far as parking, a lot of our guys are on the road and stuff like that during the day, so we do have some spots where, as you can tell, we park around the building at this point, so, so.
How many spots do you
That's
have
good.
around that
It's
building?
good relationship.
On our building alone, in our lots, I'd say 20-some, 20?
Maybe 20, probably not.
I mean, I got 9, 10 down the roadside.
We have
About our side, probably about 20.
I mean, I think equally as important as freeing up this parking is freeing up the congestion at that light.
Yeah, 100%.
You know?
Yeah.
They
can't-
gotta make that safer.
Yeah.
We get guys pulling in and parking all day, we're fortunate to this point.
You know, the exit entrance on the other side of us, on the other side of 162. I don't know if you haven't pulled in and out of there, how scary it actually is. Because cars come around that bend,
They don't even stop.
and they're on you like that. You don't know they're coming. Like, you really have to pull in and out of there to realize what you're dealing with. That's how dangerous it is.
And with that safety study, with all the money that we have coming into downtown, we have to plan for that and prepare for that.
Yeah, you guys have some, you got the lights in your light and that kind of stuff you guys are putting in there, so there's definitely,
Okay. Well, I appreciate you guys coming in.
Yeah, thank you for your time.
If you have any questions, we're here to help. We're, like I said, we've always shared our parking with Eric Ryan, with Los Galos. We've always been, whatever, it doesn't matter to us. So.
But you're outgrowing yours.
Yeah, right. And we're 8 to 5, so if there's something else that's, obviously, yeah, exactly.
Okay, we appreciate you guys.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Again.
Thanks.
Yep, have a great day.
You too. Any further discussion on this, or do we want to roll into the next thing?
There probably will be a lot of discussion next week because there's supposed to be a lot of people coming to the meeting, just so.
That is fine, but any further discussion from our council members on this currently?
My only concern was, since it is such an old building, I think I asked back when Terry was the mayor.
The historical portion of it?
Historical portion, if we were allowed to tear it down.
It's actually not registered on the historical
Okay,
because
so-
there have been too many.
So we're in the clear
Yeah,
with
there
that.
was, one of the investors was actually trying to go that route too, to get tax credits and different things, and it's not, doesn't qualify for historical tax credits or anything because of so many additions.
I want everybody to realize what it actually takes for you to get a property from a land bank in Youngstown or somewhere else that manages these properties. If I wanted to purchase a piece of property and build a house on it, they would grant me a temporary status. I would have to build 80% of that house before they would even relinquish. That's how serious before they relinquish these properties to you. You know what I mean? It's not just like, oh, you came up with a good idea on a cocktail napkin. Here you go, have at it. Don't work that way. It just does not.
It doesn't matter if a business goes in there or not, it's still a parking issue.
For sure.
Even for the business that would go in there, there wouldn't be enough parking.
What's funny is I've consulted just in conversation with people who used to own the building, and they said the exact same thing. I would love, as heartbreaking as it is to me, probably the best thing for downtown is to tear that building down, because it's always been an issue. It was an issue when we owned it. It was an issue when we had shows there. It was an issue always. And then we're fighting with Alan because our people are parking in his lot. We don't have nothing to do with it. They're just parking there. He has to get a guy in the parking lot making sure that whoever's parking here is going in his business, not somewhere else's. It just...
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
And I personally, I would like to see Struthers keep a parking lot than have somebody else, you know, because who knows what's going to happen down the road. You get a business
that... In general, I think Struthers should keep all of its property, unless these were lots and we somehow changed the zoning restriction and people were allowed to build on smaller lots, like we've kind of discussed.
Yeah.
Then relinquish them, because now we're getting tax revenue from those. Now
we're pretty limited on developing our so-called downtown.
Correct.
We need to start making our downtown more towards the river there.
That's the goal. The end goal is to transform the whole downtown and the focus be along the river.
I agree.
But this is a long-term goal.
Right.
But that's what we're working towards.
But as far as what we have here, we're pretty much at the peak.
So so when I was saying a franchisee and things like this down there, that is another 10, it might be 5-10 years before we actually get this going, but we keep giving these buildings away. We're never going to get one going.
Right.
We need the space to do that.
Yeah.
That's all there is to it. Or else we're going to keep revamping old buildings and getting...
Well, I thought the whole strip should have been tore down anyway.
Well, yeah.
We were...
It was
on the way.
It should have been. And you could build a new strip there with...
But you could have... It could have been built in a manner that suits today's needs.
Yeah.
Where the property, or I'm sorry, the business or building sat back off the road and there was parking in front, like a normal place would be. Not like, it was shoehorned in there 100 years ago. That's all I'm saying.
It's just so complex down there. And that's working with all these consultants, different teams of people, ODOT, the railroad, everybody that we're working with. It's a huge puzzle to try to figure this out.
Everybody has a soft spot in their heart for the old look and the nostalgic and revamping these buildings. But is that what's best for the growth of our city over the next 10 years?
It depends. It depends on what you're looking at, because you look at Sayla's, look what Brian did to the bank. So
it's great.
Things like that you want to hold on to. And believe me, we tried.
But you would never know that was a bank.
No.
Yeah, I mean.
But you could only replicate that so much.
Right.
There does need to be new buildings with better flow, better parking.
And we have people that want to build.
And we need to try to attract that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's my point. You got something there, big dog?
No, I'm just waiting to.
Okay, well, we're gonna roll into
that ordinance.
Next, Chief Roddy is here.
Yes.
You are the guest speaker for this evening.
Yeah.
Mayor, do you want to go into what we have here?
Do you want to talk about I don't know where you want to start with this, because I have some things I want.
Do we have an ordinance written for what you want?
Ronnie,
Zamodia.
I just want to. How many multiple times have you ticketed the same person at that area?
The same person, I don't know.
I mean,
they just wrote another ticket about an hour ago.
I was gonna say they were here when I was
Now you're here for the parking issue on the corner of Midlothian and
on
6th on 6th Street. Yes. Okay.
And this is something that we've been dealing. I know I wasn't here last week, but this is something that has been ongoing for well over a year and a half, because I've been talking with Tina for
like 7 years.
Well, I didn't hear about it until
way prior to you.
And that's something we have tried to bring more of a focus down there with the guys. Our issue was, and I know I've brought this up to you multiple times, is when I talk to you about these things, we need you to call and report it, because Now, if our guys are on a criminal matter, or if they're on something, they're not gonna leave for a parking issue. That's how it is. And I know multiple times you've said you don't wanna call, you feel like you're bothering to dispatch, but that's the only thing that's going to put this to rest. If we don't know it's happening, and we've been patrolling, we've been going back and forth, we pulled the calls, and we had 3 from 2024, 1 from 22, 1 from 18. Like, we're not.
I don't give my name when I call, and the thing is, Chief
These
Rodney,
aren't with any
when
names.
somebody calls
These are 6.
20 times a day about the same thing, how do you guys feel about that?
It comes up as concerned citizen, your name is
Yeah,
not involved.
it's not. This is just parking complaints for 6th Street and Midlothian that we pulled. This is all that we have here, and it's not 20 times. It's happening. And I even asked you, I said, what times are these happening? Because if it's the same time every day, we can try to stick somebody down there.
I told you what times, it's between 4 and 8 every day.
Right, but we can't stick someone down there for 4 hours. But they've been circling, they've been going back and forth. But what I know we're gonna talk about an ordinance here, but I personally don't understand the putting up no parking signs. I just don't feel they're not listening. They're parking in front of the fire hydrant, they're parking in front of the stop sign, they're parking in front of the alley. Putting up no parking signs is not gonna do anything.
So what's your solution? Just
when you
deal with it?
No, it's not just deal with it. But what I'm saying is when it's happening, you have to call us and let us know it's happening so we can get over there. And Ronnie's called a couple times, and our guys were able to get there right away and ticket them. We just ticketed a couple more people even yesterday. I called them. I drove by, I saw there were cars there, I called, they were there in less than a minute, they ticketed. We have to continue to do that until you set a precedence and say, okay, every time they come here, we have to ticket them, they're not gonna learn.
And I have to say, once they ticket, the officers leave, and it's funny because the new rush comes in and they do the same thing. I would be literally calling them the whole 4 hours every day. I have a life, you know? I have a life.
But it takes the
sit
same
out
amount
there and monitor the corner when I've already said there is a problem.
I know that, but the same amount of energy that you're posting on Facebook and calling and complaining can just be call the dispatch.
And I've done that. We're not.
Were they able to park on that sidewalk? Because that's where they were today. Like when I drove past just now before coming here, they're like actually on, is that a sidewalk?
Yeah,
but it's part of the business.
Yeah, only the first
but it's like
so many blocks
close
out
to
are the
stop
sidewalk.
sign.
The rest of that is a devil strip, which I believe they can park on, correct?
On. I'm saying on, not by.
On the sidewalk,
On.
that's what
I mean,
they're.
they're
I think
on.
are you making a
other
distinction
side of the
between the
street.
sidewalk and where the devil strip would be? Because that is where they
It looked
park.
like a sidewalk
Right.
that kind of goes up to the door, but they're parked on it.
Yep.
I mean,
Like
here-
not next to it, not on the
show me that
road.
one from Sunday.
So, and it's
I mean,
real close to the stop sign.
What would it hurt if we put a no parking sign? Like, is it
Because
hurting
we can't,
anything
we've
though?
had people
Look
in
where
the
they
past,
parked on
we
Sunday.
have people
Yeah.
all the
Like-
time that call and say, I need a no parking sign, I need a no parking sign. How many times did we tell Mr. Uhas? We can't just put up no parking signs, there's still
by
a
your house.
business there. Whether or not we like the business, whether or not they're good for the community,
Ma'am.
it's not, we can't just
Can I
put
see
up
the
no
pictures?
parking
Sure.
signs just because.
But I mean, if there's not supposed to be parking there anyways because of the stop sign and the fire
well-
hydrant.
But they're not listening to that, so
But
what
I'm
is?
saying, some people are so stupid though, they need a
Come from
freaking,
Lincoln.
Yeah, some people
a
don't.
sign that
Right.
says, you know what I mean? There are idiots.
Let me
But
put it
there
this way,
were-
I'm not gonna go around town and put a no parking sign in front of every fire hydrant
No,
in the city.
absolutely not.
Because they don't get parked in front of.
Correct.
Okay, so when they do get
So,
parked in
I
front of
don't
a
know.
fire hydrant on Harvey Street, the police come by, they give them a ticket,
Yeah,
okay?
but if
And
it's the
that's-
same people, they're
that's
obviously
what the
stupid.
process.
But
And
I
they're
don't
just
think that
doing
it's the
it-
same people. I think this is
Well,
different
we
people
can-
coming. But our guys have been ticketing. They've been going there.
Then
They've
why
been-
doesn't the business tell them people that are coming in there? I went inside that business and I talked to them people inside the business, and
He does.
they got
There was
smart with
nobody
me,
parked
like,
up there.
I don't care what you say, we're gonna do what we gotta do.
I think that happened because of the approach, and it's listed.
The approach of what?
Honestly,
The approach that you took when you went into the business. You said what you said to them.
What did I say to them?
I don't know that I can repeat that.
Why? Because I know what I said to them.
Do you want me to repeat?
Yeah, I
it?
want you to say.
We have
I don't,
a child
I'm
here.
not repeating. I can pass this around so you can read what you said that you said to her. Last
I
page.
know I have tried speaking to her when she first moved in, and I instantly,
It's not.
it was negative.
Yes, and we've been dealing with
I
even
was
the
actually
landlord.
trying to talk to her nicely, because this was at the very beginning.
Yeah.
You know, she didn't wanna hear it.
And there's a lot, even with our code enforcement director, he's talked to her multiple times. Our code enforcement director before this one has talked to her multiple times. We've actually had meetings with Zamoida, with other agencies, to try to deal with this. We've also, I know the question got brought up about calling the Department of Health. It's an animal charities thing. They have been there. They're there constantly, and legally, there's nothing, because it's disgusting inside.
Oh, absolutely.
It is.
I know.
I'll be honest.
We are trying to take different approaches to come
And
at
I
it to
will
try to
say,
help.
As a homeowner, if guests coming to my house was a constant disturbance to my neighbors where they were driving up over their yard, leaving their trash, my neighbor would feel I'm responsible for that. As a neighbor to that business, it's not just about the stop sign, it's about coming home, pulling in front of my house and stepping out into dog waste.
Yeah.
You know, we call it the puppy parade, to where her volunteers come, and next thing you know, you have 20 dogs going down the street, they don't clean up, they hold a bag.
Now these
So
are
they
all
hold a bag.
separate issues that we could, but
There
they're
is
trying to come at
multiple
them.
things with the same business.
Yes, and you can talk to Zamoida. We've been trying to come at them from different angles for years now.
But you also don't want to, and this is just me being honest, I've never been in the business. I don't know, I'm just sitting here logically. You also don't want to target a business. If you think that things are being done inhumane, you call the Humane Society.
We do.
And you do, and then it's out of your hands because you aren't the police for that. The Humane Society is. If they find there's wrongdoing, then it's on them. You're guiding this. However, certain things like the parking that is wrong, that we do have law or ordinances in place to correct.
And that's why I'm here. We need a solution. Danny Martin owns the property across the street. He had told you, a month ago, I'll just put gravel down. Well, it used to be a gravel parking lot. So why don't you do it? That would solve a lot of issues.
You're saying across the street from your house where you just showed me? Okay. Okay.
Right.
You know,
But see, I
but
don't
that's
know-
just pushing my problem onto my neighbor who has been cutting that grass for years. Now he's gonna have dogs in his yard because now they went from my side to his side.
Right.
You know, so Danny needs to fence in his property, put in some gravel, and you've just solved a huge issue there.
And those are solutions that we need to sit down and talk
But they
about.
don't
Those are
they don't
things
wanna
that are
hear from
more.
us. Like, he could care less. He doesn't maintain his own building. You know?
I'm aware.
And
But
there are, that's why I'm asking, we need solutions. Your officers have way more things to do than babysit that corner. You know.
Where there's a problem, they will respond.
And they always have, that is
It
never.
doesn't matter
that
if
has never
it's
been
one
a
time or
complaint.
20 times.
But if I call 20 times a day, I've been in that
And
chair,
they will
and I know,
respond 20 times.
we're gonna be like,
Maybe.
But that's what we need. That's part of the solution, though.
you know.
You know what? They might feel like that, but professionally, they're
their
going to
job.
continue to do their job, and that is their job.
Always come.
But we need you to call. Even like you said, if it's 20 times, they call 20 times. That's the only way these people are gonna learn is if we
there's
get
times
there
where,
to
you know,
ticket.
she does this $5 nail clipping, so they come in, they're there 15 minutes. But in that 15 minutes, their dog has gotten out, pooped in my yard, they've gotten their nails clipped, and they leave. By the time cops get there, the car's gone, you know? So it's kind of like a catch-22. I'm wasting their time because they can't be sitting on the corner waiting.
Yeah, and maybe there's things that I don't know about that we need to talk to Zamoida about, if there's different regulations or anything that we can cite them on, like as far as code enforcement or administrative fines or something like that we're not aware of.
I'm just being honest because I've been sitting here trying to think of a solution since.
I know you're
since
not
you
gonna shut them down.
No,
but,
since you
like,
came last week, I had honestly been thinking of how does this has to fall back on the
until
business.
and
but
there's times they park 5 houses down. It's not just me. My neighbor to the left agrees with me. He's diagonal. He agrees.
But
The
are they
neighbor across the
illegally
street
parked?
agrees.
Are those ones illegally parked?
No, they're well, actually, they blocked John next door to me.
Driveway.
They, there's I'm out front, his truck's out front. They park directly across from his driveway, and then when his son comes, they can't pull in their driveway because
Yeah.
they're
See,
right
now that's
there.
a problem that's
You know,
throughout the
they're-
city though.
But you're not
That-
supposed to park on the opposite side of somebody's
Driveway.
driveway either, you
Yes,
know?
you are permitted to do that.
There's no regulations against that.
You are permitted to do
Yeah, I
that.
thought that it was a state law
Well, and
that
this-
you cannot park
The
directly.
same thing with the fire hydrant. And again, there's the pictures you showed, there's plenty of illegal parking in it. But there is a portion that is not illegal. The fire hydrant, you only have to be, what, 10 feet?
I don't remember.
I'm almost positive it's only 10 feet from a fire hydrant. And again, there's tons of illegal ones in there as well. But I think a portion of those too are just
Yeah, I only hurried up, went through and.
more an
printed just
inconvenience
to
than
show you
illegal.
guys, like,
Yeah.
They pull up and they park, I'm planting grass seed, I'm trying to, get the ruts out of the ground. And then next thing you know, a pickup truck pulls up and his tires are in my dirt. I just spent 4
Isn't there
hours
parking
out there
behind that
flattening,
building?
Yeah.
It's
Well, there-
And there's an
that's-
alley. I
Billy's
don't.
been working on that too.
But
So there's
isn't there
cars-
parking, or no?
Yeah, there's cars there's vehicles, disabled vehicles that are back there that they've talked to Danny about. Danny's in Florida. So they're trying to get that taken care of so
people
they-
can park there?
Yes, but I don't know, we don't know if they're gonna listen.
How
They're
many
not
times-
listening or not.
But
You know what
why
I mean?
is
It's-
a business, okay, and all this commotion being caused, why could they not just post, like anybody else would, if you're gonna go visit there, it should say, please park in the rear?
Right.
Or, it's a simple,
Yes, when
it's a simple
that was
sign.
actually mentioned to her, can you please talk to them? Her response to a certain individual was, what they do outside this building is not my problem.
Well, it's your business. I don't know,
Now,
I just.
I agree with you, it is, it
I
should be
completely
her
agree
problem,
with you on a moral,
you know?
on a moral standard.
But not as a business.
But no, not as a business owner. If John were here, on John's behalf, John is going to tell you that you can't find this business because of how constituents are parking. That's just not something. And
Well, I'm not
I've been,
fining them, I'm just telling them.
I understand,
and like you said,
but-
morally.
right. Morally, I
Like we
completely
didn't
agree.
agree last time about parking at the bank, right? But it's already okayed to park at the bank, right? Downtown?
Yes.
So
After
we already had, you and I, our little discussions on that.
Sure.
So
But
we're
the-
gonna disagree on this too, because I feel that they could put a sign very easily, please park in the rear. It's not that hard.
Yeah.
But-
And it
Right,
directs
but-
them where to go,
May I
and they're
make-
not on that parking, like on that
But
side.
if they don't and they park in the street,
Then, I mean,
You can't,
I know, but you come up with solutions. But when you're challenged on that solution, what happens when
but
they
it has
don't?
to come from the owner. The owner has to be like.
The owner has to say, "What? We're not going to service you because you
They're
didn't
not
park in the
gonna not
rear."
service them, but be like, could you please go move your car?
It's
Or
a-
maybe they could call the cops at that point and say this person
I
doesn't
understand,
wanna
but
move
it's
their car.
not. Again, we deal in law here. That's not a legal thing that you could tell the business owner to make them do.
It sounds like the business owner just doesn't care.
Well, I
Exactly.
understand, but
So, I mean, what do you do with that? I
can't-
mean,
you
we're
can't
all
force
rational
them to
people,
care.
and, if you got somebody that doesn't care, somebody that doesn't wanna play by the, some moral rules or whatever
And
you
as
wanna
far as
call it.
our parking stance goes, my issue isn't with people parking in the bank's parking lot. It's with you thinking you can force the bank to allow people to park on their property.
Oh, I
If the
didn't say
bank wants to
force the
do it, have at it.
Rope it
But
off.
you,
I said ask.
from a
them.
government standpoint,
We have no say.
we have no say so. We cannot force that bank to allow them
They
to
can
let
fence-
people
they can
park
fence
in
it
there.
in.
That
Open
was,
it up,
that was a
get
problem with La
Correct. I
Villa,
mean,
and the
that's-
bowling alley.
Just be realistic. That's all I'm saying. Everything in hindsight or in wanting that to happen, that's great. That would be great if they all worked in unison. We as a government cannot force them to do that.
Alright, let's get
That
back
is
to the
my
topic
point.
on hand.
Yeah, exactly.
So may I?
Which is fine.
may I
No
make
parking
one-
signs.
May I make one comment?
Yeah.
Everybody knows my opinion, I don't feel no parking signs are warranted in that area. And I would also wanna include that I don't feel that you should use no parking signs as a way to attack a business.
It is not to attack the
You're-
business,
you're-
it's to help the neighbors, the people that own their homes over there, because again, it's not just
So,
me. There's several.
Okay, I'm talking to council, thank you.
Okay,
So that's my point, that I do not feel that no parking signs are warranted in that area, and that's where I stand. I will put them up
this council directs me to do so.
When I drove by there, my solution, or at least thought, was where they do park on the side of the building, that is kind of by the sidewalk. Generally, places like that have square outlined parking spaces that are painted directly on the devil strip and on that. So they're designated, there's 4 of them for 4 people to park their car, and this
Who
is where you
puts
park
in
them.
there?
I would assume at that point, I would assume the business does, but also that would be us because we own the right of way there.
There's not enough
But
room
we
for
could,
cars to
when we
park
talked,
there.
I
There is.
believe we talked to
I
Zamora
could
about
talk to-
putting lines on Midlothian in front of the businesses.
Well, I would do it
And I
all
don't
the
think
way.
we're allowed to.
Why?
I don't remember the reason, I'm not gonna lie.
I will discuss it again.
Yeah, I would like to find out the reasoning on that. I just think, I'm not saying that's gonna solve the problem whatsoever. I'm saying that that's a step in the right direction and a little bit of a
I
proactive.
think there's a couple of different things that
I think
can
the
help
plain and
solve
simple
the
issue is,
problem.
to talk to Danny Martin, see what he can do with
Yes.
him.
But how many times has he been
That's plain
cited
and
for like
simple
those
right there.
cars and things
Because
like
you
that?
don't-
Can we impound those cars?
I don't think that's gonna get us.
Well, I think
Why
we
I'm
not?
not disagreeing with that's the route to go. I'm just saying, I don't know that that's really gonna get us where we want to
I
be.
don't think it's gonna get us, but you know what, it's gonna put it in his head, hey, I mean, if he has any kind of sense, he could say, all right, let's help the city out here, let me do this.
Chief, what's your thoughts
He'll
on
never
that?
know.
Really been
Well,
there,
and wait.
going theme.
On the
I
parking
know, I mean,
situation there.
I get it.
But you know what I mean? It wouldn't hurt.
So
First
here,
of all,
this is
where
parking?
where the stop
Yeah.
sign is.
That's
It's a
parking.
good distance from.
You're not on that curb.
Right.
or
Well, they
that
were
sidewalk.
up there.
As long as you're not on
Our
that sidewalk
ordinance
right
They
there.
get
says
too
you
close
have
to
to
the
be
curb,
30
too close
feet
to the
from the
sidewalk to get a
intersection.
ticket. But if they
Which
were
takes
parked
us
right here on
right
this,
to about where the
that's
stop
legal.
sign is.
That's what I was trying to say.
Okay.
You know, earlier when you said they're on the
So
sidewalk.
Well, they were up.
us
I swear they were
citing
up,
someone because
like
they're
on-
parked
If
in
it
front of the
was just
stop
now, they
sign.
ticketed them.
Okay. Well, they would
Stop
have to be
sign
off,
was
see
quite
where
a
that
far
line is, that
distance
box,
back,
this-
and
these
I
lines.
didn't get out and walk it, but it's a
They
good
could park
distance
on
back
this,
from
correct.
where
And this is
Midlothian.
where I'm saying
meets.
possibly, I'm sorry.
No,
Get these squares here.
If you're asking me
There's
where
four
the
parking spots,
problem
this is where you're
is
So you could
in that
see the
intersection,
Yes.
it's all the cars that park on Midlothian
That's my thought.
in that
You know
little
what,
cutout.
here's
because that
what
makes
I
the
can
people
do.
From Sixth Street have a
I
difficult
can
time
put a
seeing
sign
traffic coming from
in front of the
Struthers.
stop sign.
So
saying
if
no
I was
parking
gonna
from
address
here to
anything,
corner.
it would be that.
That
I
way
went
they
to
have to
Benson
park,
before, he's like,
you know
no,
what I'm
I'm
saying?
not
I
putting
can
no
prevent
parking signs up
parking
there.
close to the stop sign.
Because there's quite
That I
a few
can
cars that park on
That
this
is
side, they
supposed
park
to be
across.
It,
Not
It's-
it should be common knowledge,
Van Gur used
but
to
I can't
be.
put a no parking sign there. for
I
that.
realize it's a problem. I couldn't think of any solutions, and then when it said about maybe putting some parking spots, I don't know if we can do that, but if we designate, even on Sixth Street, just 3 parking spots, excuse me, and stay within that, that might
Or she's still.
lead these people to a better position.
Recommendation
Cause it's a free-for-all right now.
Right.
Yeah, it's a
My
free-for-all.
issue
So
with
that would
putting
still
no
be
parking against that building,
It would just be.
up where the building
basically
is,
where the telephone
is if they can't park there, they're going to
That would be
park
parking
somewhere.
forward.
Whether it's on the opposite side, the west side of Sixth Street,
Can't do that.
down into
Street
the
board.
neighborhoods even more,
'Cause that's
and they're going to
business.
walk up. So at least if there's a small amount of cars, they're gonna be contained within an area. My issue, I think, that they're having with the parking behind, you go back there, there's, I don't even know if the apartments that are back there are being used, but there's a garage that sits straight back. Going up and turning around for some drivers is gonna be very difficult, so they can pull back out and park in a manner to where they can get in and out of their car. So, and for some people, it might be a very scary alleyway. Trying to take everything in, I wish that I can have an officer sit there and direct it. Unfortunately, I'm pulling these guys in a million different directions, and that's for a different day. Maybe we can we at least paint something on a curb? This is a parking spot, this is a parking spot, this is a parking spot.
I think if we did that, we'd have identified parking at least, and I
Yeah.
kind of agree with no parking up by the buildings is only gonna exacerbate
I
your
didn't ask for
problem.
no parking
Okay.
by the building.
No, no,
I'm
no,
asking for no parking in front of
Cause
my
I was gonna
house
say, I think that's gonna make it worse.
From the alley over like 2 to 3 houses, because they need to be directed over there.
Yeah.
They stray.
Yes.
And
Sure.
it is a circus.
I'm sorry, because
every
I
day.
thought for a minute you guys were
No.
talking about having parking, no parking up by the
I was asking for no parking
buildings.
in front of the empty
Okay.
lot next to me,
Cause
my
that,
house.
yeah,
and
that
like-
makes sense. The, up by the buildings was
And-
gonna make it worse, because then they
Right.
couldn't park up there, they were definitely gonna park
And I
back by your
said
house.
by the fire hydrant, because apparently they don't know what a fire hydrant looks like.
Yeah.
You know, so.
But I think compartmentalizing that parking, so you were designated to know at least, hey, we got 5 spaces along the side of this building, and they're identified. I'm not saying anybody's gonna follow it. I'm just saying at least
I'm
that
just
is,
looking for solutions because it's a circus every day. Even on the weekends, it's crazy,
right,
you know?
right. And I see you just put a fence up.
I'm working on it.
Looks good.
I'll be eating ramen noodles for the next 2 months.
I hear you.
but
I hear you.
I'm
Cost of
working on-
fences is
when-
insane.
When that yard is done, it's going to look 100% different. So,
And if you don't mind me asking, sir, what's your view on this?
Me?
Yes.
Oh, well, you know, I have an issue with them over there because I've gotten into it with people about just disrespectfully parking in my parking lot. Dogs do run in my parking lot.
That's why you have it coned off, sir?
That don't even
I
work.
actually had to
Listen,
give him some
he
cones
gave me that
too,
to put back
because
there, and
that's what
when I
we
left
wanted
one
to
time and came back, got back, his car's parked back there like y'all don't see it's roped off.
They drove
You know
over
what
his
I'm saying?
chain.
They drove over the chain, knocked the bucket down. I was like,
So what do you think is?
He
a good
owns that
solution?
business right
'Cause you
across
said
the
when you
street.
walked in that
Yeah.
no parking signs you didn't think was gonna work because you had them up
because I
before.
put them up.
So what do you
They
think?
put right in front of it. Like I came out and asked lady one time, I was like, hey, I'm like, you know if you have no parking sign? I said, oh, I didn't pay no attention. I said, how not? I said, it's right there. You pulled right in front of it, got out the car, looked at it, 'cause I'm watching you on the camera. You looked at it and still walked across the street.
Yeah.
So it was like, and then another guy just pulled in, and I walked in there respectfully. It was like, hey, whose car is this? Because it was parked sideways, just blocking. It wasn't like parked like respectfully like this. It was parked like this, like they just pulled in and blocked the whole parking lot. So I walked over there. I was like, hey, whose car is this out here? They blocking my space because I couldn't even get in there. So nobody said anything. So when I walked back out there, I just looked in the car to try to see whose car it was. Dude came out of there going crazy, get out of my car. So that could have turned into something different.
Yeah.
Feel me?
But see, that's where I think there's a couple different things that can help mitigate this. Is you calling the cops and saying there's somebody parked on my property in my and call so we can
And I
get there.
did, and guess what happened? I called, and the lady, whoever the dispatch lady I talked to, she was like, well, sir, ain't nothing we can do about that because it's on private property. That's what she told me. I did call.
So, but you also have, because it's private property, I believe he has the authority to have it towed.
Yes.
They told me.
And that whole thing is a touchy situation, and I've gone over this with dispatch. It's not their call to make. We still are supposed to send an officer out. An officer will discuss things with you, get your point of view, you know, how much can a dispatch, and I'm not bad-mouthing dispatchers, but how much could they understand of something in a 2-minute conversation? They're supposed to send an officer out. The officer will make a determination. So that's our fault. So I apologize.
I did call though, twice. The second time somebody did come out, officer came, pulled up, and he got out and actually went in there because he actually called it in, and the lady just like looked out and just kept doing what she was doing. She was in there for about 20, 30 minutes. He had to actually get out and go in there, say something to her. She still took like 10 more minutes to come out and move her car because I thought the car was abandoned because nobody said whose car it was. So I'm like, this is an abandoned car just sitting in my parking lot. So,
Chief, do we have a harsher repercussion as far as tow goes and things like that to these people who are, you hate to do it because it happens all the time to you, but it's not the same person doing it every time. Right. You know what I mean?
We do have repeat ones.
Okay,
Yes.
well
there are some repeat ones, but a lot of these people, they're not even from this area.
Yeah.
So it's such a mix of, like they're in and out, you know, but there are the repeat volunteers that come, they just think they can do what they want. And I've actually had a few words with 2 people over there that go in there all the time. They're just nasty people.
Yeah.
You know, and it gets to the point
Not
where,
everybody's nice.
yeah,
I mean,
it gets to the point where now you become nasty,
Everybody's like
you know,
me.
because it's the same thing over and over again. But they feel that they can just do what they want. They're there to volunteer, they don't care what's going on.
And that, Bob said too that he would put up something that says no parking from here to the corner.
Yeah, we can do that now. Look into possibly painting lines.
Yeah, if we could mark those painting spots,
Yeah.
that would probably
I'll check
help
with
some
John,
of the
but I
confusion.
think we may be able to do that.
So I don't know what the difference is of painting some spots or putting some.
I'm sorry, can you?
Well, I don't think we're putting signs up by the business. I think we're more concerned
Yeah.
about parking in front of her house. We could put a sign up there.
Well, I'm even more against that.
See, then what's gonna
Putting up a
happen
no
is
parking sign in front of
everybody's gonna
somebody's
want
house.
Everybody's gonna
call
want
City Hall, and we're gonna say, go talk to council. So, because we've told people in the past, Mr. Uhas
Mr.
was one
Uhas,
of
yeah, he
them.
has
We've
one.
told people, it
We're gonna
happens
take
in
that
the
down.
whole city of
So
Struthers.
this
People
isn't
park
something
in
that's
front
just
of.
this has been like a 7-year thing. This isn't something that's new.
Yeah.
So here's the
I
stop
get it.
sign, right?
Okay.
But there's areas that they can park here, but
Right.
it's not really marked.
Right.
So I wouldn't personally probably park there, not thinking that was parking. So if they can mark 5 or 4 parking spots
Okay.
there.
And all they are is a square.
Yeah.
And-
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There'll be 5
Who's
squares
gonna-
that are
who's gonna pay?
attached. We have to see, they
We have
said
to
that
talk
they
to
don't
them more
think
about
that
Talk to
we may be
and that-
allowed.
Dallas, last time I talked to, it was a long time ago, I don't remember what the reason was, if it was specific to, I gotta find out
Yeah.
before.
Right.
But if we could identify some spaces for them,
Parked here today.
it's obviously step in the right direction. Go ahead.
And I know you guys have said that stop sign is in a very weird spot. It honestly should be moved forward, which would give her another spot to park in.
Well, currently, is it on, I don't know, is it on the
It's in a
telephone?
very
No,
odd-
it's
No.
in
like
front of
10
the
feet.
telephone pole.
Yeah.
It's right there.
Okay,
Yeah.
But it
Yeah,
is on
it's a
its
good
own.
distance from the
Yeah,
intersection.
Yeah.
to
Um,
stop there, it like makes no sense.
Should it
Yeah.
be moved up, Timmy?
Well, that is a very weird area because it's kind of, it would be in the middle of the sidewalk because it's all sidewalk from
Right,
years
right.
and years ago. And I can understand why the stop sign is where it's at because there's a little protection to it because of the pole. A lot of times when they're sitting out in the open like that, a hard turn takes it down.
Yeah.
I would say another thing too is we should think about if we're able to paint these squares. When there is cars there, is the stop sign still visible, or some spots
Yeah.
they have a too high parking or too high stop sign, where there'll be one down low and one above it, so you could actually still see it if there is cars parked there.
Stop
Yeah,
signs
because the
are,
cars would be right in front of that.
That's what I mean.
stop signs are a standard height of 7 feet. They can be adjusted up or down depending on the visibility of the stop sign. Standard height is 7 feet for a stop sign.
So I think maybe like a couple of things need to happen here. If we put that up, mark the lines, if we have, you guys, we need you to call. You heard it from the chief, we need you to call even if it's 20 times. Because once you ticket them once, maybe that will deter them from parking the next time. So the more people we can get while they're there, the better. And again, we can't promise to get everybody every time they're there, but we can promise when somebody will be dispatched and get there as soon as they can.
And Mr. Bass will reach out to Mr. Martin.
Well, that's a whole other one. Billy's already been
No,
trying to get
I
in
was only
contact, he's
kidding.
not in the state, but that's a whole,
Yeah, you can't- don't
that's
be
a whole,
afraid to,
I
don't
see
you?
that as a separate issue from
Right,
I
right,
know
the
they
parking.
have better things to do.
That's okay, this is an
know,
issue that you
and
have.
that's-
No, because now,
We're gonna solve it.
This is your,
It kind of discouraged me to call when she said that.
Well,
Yeah.
now you heard from
and
the
that
chief.
is not right, and that is her being absolutely wrong. It's
you
not
got
her
to, you got to say
judgment to
so and
make.
okay now, so just do it.
It's not
I didn't
any
read it yet.
any
can you read
dispatcher's
it out
judgment to make any of that.
and
No, I can't on
what
camera.
people in the city want, they want peace of mind. They want, like you said last week, to be able to go sit on your front porch and not have people destroy your property.
Megan?
But there's gonna be, we
You're done
gotta
with
figure
lawyers,
out
Reed.
how to get that
Yeah.
to stop.
I'm getting a copy of that and taking it to my attorney, because I know I never said that.
It's on body cam.
It's on what?
It's on body cam. They
Body-
took it straight from their body cam,
Who?
the officer.
From who?
From you, the officer took it from their body cam.
From me saying that.
Yes.
Well, I'd like to see it, because I'll tell you what, I'm gonna get a copy of this and take it to my attorney.
That's fine, it's on, like I said, it's on body.
Yeah, I'm gonna take it to my attorney.
So I just hope there's some type of solution, because it really has been years. And like I said, I'm doing nothing but trying to fix up my end of the street. And I should be able to come home after working 10 hours and not have cars making U-turns up over my grass. You know, tire marks in my street, you know, in the corner. Stepping in dog waste, you know, and it's not a neighbor
Are
walking
we
their
able to
dog.
put up a pick up after your dog sign?
We can do that too.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the sign's gonna go in your yard, but.
I honestly bought one. I bought one already. I was gonna put it up, but I didn't know if I was allowed to put it, like.
I'll try to find a better place,
You know,
maybe on a
that's
telephone
why I
pole or
said,
something
like,
for the sign, but.
You don't want me to
We
put
can
my
put-
cans
we can put a
out,
sign up there.
all, you know, because for a while there, I was coming home from work at 4:30, putting my trash cans out, cause I'm just over it. And then at 8 o'clock, I bring my trash cans back. Mr. Farselli asked me to stop doing that, and I did. And that same day, within 15 minutes, 2 different dogs pooped in my yard. That same day. I have to keep a cone at the end of my driveway, which is so tacky, you know? Like, my guests have to say, I'm on my way, can you move the cone? You know, nobody wants this at their home,
No,
you know?
no, I'm not disagreeing with you
You
in
know,
any way.
I feel,
honestly.
even if you don't want to put it in front of my house, put it in front of the empty lot. That has been empty for 10 years. People think nobody owns it,
So-
you know? Like, they can do what they want. So pulling up over the yard, nobody's gonna
Also,
complain.
two things. Mr. Martin owns the building.
Correct.
Mr. Martin also owns the property, the vacant field across the
Directly
street.
across the street.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure I had my facts
Yeah,
straight.
it's actually under Mallory's name, not Danny's name, but it is
Okay,
under one of Martin's.
okay.
You know, but that did used to be 30 years ago, that was a gravel parking lot.
Right,
I don't know at the time who owned it, but I know Martin owns it now.
sure, sure.
He told me he definitely owns it, cause I called
Oh, I
him,
looked it up, it's under
and
Mallory's name.
he's in Florida. He was in Florida when I talked to him, I don't know if he's back now.
He's still there.
Still there?
So what is council's current pleasure on this?
We have to talk to John about parking or putting lines out.
And we can revisit again in a few weeks and see how the.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you make calls, because I think,
So
you know,
should I
your
call
chief is
when
gonna-
they get out of their car and their dog poops in my yard? You know, because
I get dog poops in my yard too, so,
Hey,
you know,
keep walking.
people walk.
you know,
I'm just saying, I'm sure we all do, it's a city that everybody walks in, I walk my dogs, I have a little poop bag, but you know, not everybody does. So, I mean, if you call, I know the chief would work with you, work with the dispatch, you know, just try to be a pain in the side a little bit and do that kind of thing, and let's go and see what
just
happens.
apologize to them now for me, please.
But I mean, no parking signs aren't gonna solve parking in front of your house. Like, I like to have people over my house, so I like people parking if
Believe
they
me, that's
have
the
to.
last thing I honestly want, you know? But this is where I'm at, like, I've tried everything.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking the whole dog waste thing, we can somehow tie that into the person that runs this. She needs to instruct her volunteers to do things in a proper way and provide them with these poop bags. And should they not follow that direction, instead of us citing the person that's allowing the dog to do it, I think we can go after the owner. And I'll check with Zamoyda on that, but I
That would be
think,
a start,
I
you know.
think that is,
Yeah, that would be helpful.
you know, because it's unfortunate that you get some poor dog lover that's taking a dog out, you know, thinking that they're doing good by helping you sunlight, and us catch them allowing a dog and then citing them for something when it's the idiot that's running the building.
You know, and that's why I say, like, these, when the cars pull out, I know when I get out of the car with my dog, the first thing he wants to do is go pee. Well, guess what? When a dog gets out of the car and pees in the same spot over and over again, you are now killing my grass. You know, so
Yeah,
that's kind of why I
Yeah.
said I would like no parking, but I am the closest one to that building, so I'm the one getting it the most.
sure.
You know, even if you don't wanna put one in front of my house, I'm just talking about the lot beside me. Put one right there, so they can't park from there to the alley, because they block the alley anyways, you know?
Right.
And you're
Well,
not
if they
supposed
say-
to block
If they
that.
say they got it on their body cam,
Well,
how you gonna, how you gonna
But
I just need a solution.
well, I
with
agree.
my attorney.
I agree.
Okay,
I
that's
think, to be
fine, but
honest,
if it's
I
on a
think
body cam,
initially
how
to
you-
start, I think the lines being
For what?
parked, if we're able to
how
do
could you
that
sue
on that
if
whole
it's on a
side
cam that you
and
said
the whole
you
front, I think that
Because she does
If it's
not give them
not
direction at all, these people are clueless.
I
when
understand.
they pull up.
Yes.
They're clueless.
I understand.
It's on there, Ron.
But we're more
File-
aware of the
file
issue
a-
now, and I think
public records
administration and,
request, and I'll give you a copy.
put a little bit more
Okay.
enforcement on it now.
So you can get
That
any
would be
attorney in
good.
the
Don't
world,
call.
it's you saying this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Pretty darn embarrassing.
What'd you say?
Yeah,
What'd you say?
It's pretty embarrassing that you're questioning my officers.
Your officer.
Yeah.
So in other words, Barney, you're saying
You're
it's not
fine, you
on,
can go whenever you'd
you
like.
never said that.
Honestly, don't
That's
think
what
that
I'm
this
saying.
fell on deaf ears tonight.
I'd like to hear
Just
me
because,
saying it
you
on
know,
it.
we didn't come to a
File
definite and put up a park, no
formal
parking sign.
request.
Okay.
I'm really gonna try to find some solutions to this, and I know that
And
they are
if,
too.
if you,
And
if
we,
it
I know
is
Mr.
on
Banks,
there,
we all,
we
Sure, yeah.
we really will. I don't,
It's
I'll
public
try the
apology.
calls
Yeah.
and I'll keep
Please.
documenting
Please.
and showing you and we
you
can
can take my
come
number
back.
even and call me in a month and say, listen, this isn't working at all, or this has been a lot better and we're in the right direction, you know what I mean?
Business owner has to be a little bit,
yes.
Yeah.
something, it's their business, they, you know,
That's
they
part of the main
feed
problem.
people.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
the whole I mean,
Isn't he in violation of property maintenance? If he's got the cars in the back that are,
That would
It's a
work.
commercial area.
So
but they're, aren't the
sure
cars supposed to be
something on the
operable?
not in a commercial.
area.
Really?
It was
You can have junk
residential.
sitting there?
Yep,
Yeah.
because
Well,
look at how
There
like,
is a garage back there.
but look how like Shaw's Auto Body or somebody with a broken car sitting there all day, so it,
Repair shop,
yeah,
But that's not a repair shop.
I agree.
you're right,
From a law
and there's
standpoint,
probably no business back there, is there?
not to my knowledge. No, but I promise you, I will continue and so will everybody else.
Yeah, like I said, I drove past there tonight on the way here, just to see, you know, I said, "Oh,
How'd it look, Laura?
they had cars, I swear they were up on the sidewalk.
Yeah.
It's a service.
Like it was further than that little strip.
Listen,
But I could be wrong, I just.
I agree with you that the business owner should do something, and I obviously agree with you that the people frequenting that business, even though they're not a business owner, come on, have a little respect for where you.
Signs, it would give them a place to go.
100% agree.
There are some that pull up, they mind their own business, they don't drop trash out of their car, they go over and do what they gotta do, and
Sure.
they leave, and there's no problem. It's not everybody, it's 50%.
Right. And that's still 50% too much, but
It is.
at this point, I'm looking for a realistic solution for you.
I
that-
would love one.
Okay. See, Lori, we agreed on that. We agreed on those parking lots.
We didn't disagree.
That's right.
It doesn't mean I don't like you.
I know. We're friends. Okay, so we're gonna continue this. We're gonna try to talk to Mr. Zamoyda about the parking lines and squares and what we can do there. If it still becomes an issue after that, we know that last case scenario is a no parking sign. We're gonna do everything we can before we try something like that, correct?
You're
Yes.
Yes,
And we
okay.
meet with, we have a meeting with Moida at 11 on Friday, so that's.
So it's all
at
empty
the-
now.
Perfect. Perfect. And I'll bother him when I leave here. We're ready to roll in the legislation now?
Let's do it.
Chief, thank you very much, Chief.
Yeah.
I do not, you're more than welcome to hang out, but, enjoy your night. Ask him to give you a ride home in the cruiser. Okay, we have some legislation here. This is what we're bringing up. These are what we're going over. Is that my understanding that right? Okay, and the first one is an ordinance authorizing the Mayor and Safety Service Director to enter into a contract with DLZ Engineering for engineering design services proposal for East Fifth Street Stormwater Study Phase 3 and declaring an emergency. Mayor or SSD, would you like to speak on it?
I do, just because this just happened today on the way home. We may have secured $96,000 for the study. So while entering into a contract, we may not start this for a month until we get the response back from Sheriff Brown's office.
Okay.
But if we have the opportunity for $96,000 to wait a month, that's what we're gonna do.
Yes, I agree.
So, but this is the study, this is the Judith Lane, the Fifth Street, this is that whole big study that we've been searching for money for over a year. Or not over a year, not way
For a
longer than a
decade,
year.
yeah,
Way
for a
longer than a
decade.
year, I'm sorry, way longer than a year, but this is that money that we need to do this phase. But like I said, this, we should find out, I believe, end of May, beginning of July. But from what we received today, it sounds pretty good that we're getting 96,000, so fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Either way, we want to proceed with this study. So this legislation will authorize us to spend the city money if we have to. We're gonna try to get the funding, but we want to proceed with the study no matter if we get that funding or not.
It has.
Yeah, we need to get it done.
Our man George will be very happy. Yes.
Yeah.
Motion to bring it out.
Second?
I will second that.
No. That is it for, I believe, what is getting passed tonight. We also have the part-time employees ordinances and the full-time position ordinances. And there is quite a bit here. I don't know if everybody wants to go over these individually.
If I may
Go ahead.
address, I'd like to recommend a few changes to these ordinances so that we're addressing them.
Please do.
One would be our part-time ordinances that we address at $10.45 an hour. That's minimum wage right now, and we change it every time minimum wage changes. If we're gonna continue to pay them minimum wage, I'd like that language changed to say that the person will be paid the state minimum wage.
That way it goes up without us changing the dollar amount.
the
Okay.
ordinance. Okay?
She was showing, so she's gonna talk.
The other,
Where is that?
It's under part-time.
It's in a few, not on the first couple pages.
right, it would be under
Okay, I got
all
it.
your part-time.
Part-time at the top. I got it. Part-time, so it's to read minimum wage.
Yeah.
What else you got?
So, under your department head ordinance, we list all the department heads. I'd like to separate out our stormwater, our wastewater supervisor. The wastewater supervisor negotiated his own contract when he came on board. And I feel that when he leaves, in order for us to get a replacement for him, it's also going to have to be a contract negotiation with him. You know what I'm saying? So I'd like to separate him out of that department head ordinance completely, give him his own ordinance.
Okay, so superintendent right here. We're gonna separate him.
Right, and part of that ordinance, which,
Depending on what class he's to, obviously.
right, so the classification and his pay salary and everything will all be negotiated when they come in on new, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Because obviously, if more experience, you
You
want
have
to
to pay
pay
more.
more.
Mm-hmm.
But also in that, I'm going to include, when we talked to Mark about him coming on board, the salary, of course, was $85,000, but we also promised him 6 weeks of vacation. So his ordinance will be separated, and it'll be designated what he negotiated, and then there'll be no steps or anything else for him. That's why we're taking him out of the ordinance, it's clear cut, this is what you get, that's it.
We're
And
gonna
that's,
use that in the future for his replacement as well.
Whoever his replacement is, then whatever
And
we
the assistant,
negotiate, that's what
and the assistant as well.
At this time, I don't think we need to remove the assistant. We can if you want. But I hope to promote the assistant from within, so we can still govern him by department head. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Mm-hmm.
So they do, now it's an
Minimum wage, department head coming out. Oh, and, all the languages are dealing with 85% salary the first year.
we need help with
I'd
that.
like to have that all removed. It's a lot easier to hire employees when I'm offering them full rate rather than telling them that you can come in at 85%. And that for fire, police, everybody. You know what I'm saying? It is just a hindrance to our hiring ability. That's,
I think we've got a good raise this year, but I think if we were in the upper class with some of the other, some of their positions. It's hard to say, okay, we know you're gonna take less than what you really need, but then, hey, you're gonna come in at 85% of that as well. It's, I don't know that
Our secretaries all make a terribly low wage. Every single secretary knows that. So when one of them leaves and we bring somebody else in, we're not gonna just tell them, well, you're starting off at this measly salary, but 85% of that measly salary. And that's the part I'd like to get rid of.
So you, how long is that normally that you're?
a year.
Yeah.
Yes.
So if you're hiring somebody for $35,000 a year, and then you say, well, we're not gonna pay you that, we're only gonna pay you 85%.
What's the reason for that? Like a probation period?
It's just been in there for so long, I don't think so. I don't know why, what the original thought.
You do have like a probation period. You have like a 30 days, so yeah. I don't
There's no bill for the first year. There's no.
Well, the thought is that if you're coming from an outside job, it takes time to learn this job. So if you're coming to this job, you're not at full capacity of performing this job to the best of your abilities. That is why it takes time to learn it, and that's why it was initially tiered that.
Yeah. Well, it takes time for anybody to learn a job.
I agree.
I'm gonna take a job for 35,000 a year. I want 35,000.
But we used to not do that. If I remember it right, if you were already working for the city and you went to a different position, that 85% was void. Correct? You're full rate.
Right now, we don't have a need for it, but as we move along and we lose our secretaries, if one more to leave or something, it'd be hard to find somebody to replace that. I mean, it's
Really not a horrible wage.
I thought that was a
It's Monday through Friday work.
No.
It's daytime. You can't
I mean, if you were going to compare that,
negotiating.
so to me, you would compare that to the same hours more or less as a bank. Things like that. I think
hours, yeah.
I feel like, honestly, I feel like we do as best we can with our wages.
we pay what we can afford. We pay what we can afford. Don't get me wrong. So I tell every one of our employees deserve a raise, absolutely, but they all also understand that they took a job that is governed by the city budget.
Sure. And again, my thing with this is you take a job knowing the salary, right? And that is what you sign on to make. Now, I wish we could give everybody $100,000 a year. That's just not, first of all, it's not our money to do that with.
So this would not affect any current employees, of course. It would only affect the new hiree, and it wouldn't really have an effect on the budget either, because you're currently paying them that salary. So if somebody would leave and then a replacement coming, you're paying the same salary. So it doesn't really affect our budget. It just basically affects our ability to attract more people.
Sure. Is that also a problem with the people who've been here for so many years and somebody's going to come on at the same rate that they do?
No.
You know what I mean? Like, I came on yesterday.
Like the first year maintenance and equipment operator was like 42, whereas they normally make 49.
Yeah.
Okay. So you want that guy to come right in and make 49?
I do that.
I would just say where there's positions where it's a duplicate position, but it's not one of that person, there's multiple, right? That if 5 people do the same job, the people who have been here for so many years, somebody coming right on board making as much of them, I could see being a little bit of a mutiny. Like you worked, if somebody came on after you've been there 5 years making the same amount as you.
Well, what they did towards the end is they brought them up at the top. They had credentials to show that they had a background in the job. So I was a mechanic. They brought a guy on, which your work is, you a mechanic. You got to show it, not somebody who's come out of the trade school.
Right.
Somebody that had a history to do that. They could do the same time.
Yeah, I would.
If they did not have any credentials to show that, and that's a different
Sure.
story.
concept
You
then.
might have to take that on a case-by-case basis.
Yeah,
Maybe that's what we could-
that's what I was thinking.
I would say, yeah.
Or even if we bring it to council and say, hey, listen, we have the opportunity.
We got
to
this
get
person,
but
we
they're
want you to
not-
waive the 15% step up because they have
And make
so
that
much
decision.
experience
And we're-
in this
or we're
job
having
currently.
trouble
Well,
That would probably
we
be-
kinda had to do that with the
That would probably be
wastewater.
the best way to do
Man,
it.
I would probably agree
Yeah,
with
just
that.
saying.
Especially if we're having
Like,
trouble
that's a
hiring
position
someone too.
that Should start off at what it starts off
I
at.
agree there.
Yeah, I don't have an
I do.
issue with doing it on a case-by-case basis.
Yeah, like you said, you get a young kid that's just graduated from school.
Sure.
And there's an experienced guy there, he's gonna
Yeah.
say, let him
Experienced
do
guy
it.
got the same level, a young kid,
Right.
or I
right.
should say young kid, a person that doesn't have
Experience.
More,
experience
yeah.
would get 85.
And a
Okay,
year,
so
a year
all
goes
our-
by
all our
pretty fast.
union people, this has no effect on them.
No, right.
Our union firefighters, police, wastewater,
Right.
their salary is set first year, second year.
Right.
it's set. The street department, if you wanted to stage them at an 85 to then to 100, I can see that because you like you
And
said,
I,
you got
to be
one
honest,
person
I could
going
even see
multiple.
90%. 10% pay
Yeah.
decrease
Yeah.
is, I think, fair enough for us
For
to
1
say,
Yeah.
you're gonna learn this
year.
position. And I think it's
Right.
fair enough to them to say, I'm gonna accept less until I do learn this position. So I would say if we could do that to 90% pay instead of 85, probably benefits everybody a little bit more,
Sure.
a little more enticing.
Okay. And as far as the secretarial positions go, because those would be the only positions left, would be our secretarial positions. They're all unique, they're all different.
And that's why I would say
Yeah.
those on a case-by-case basis, the same way is probably the best, because they are all unique.
Yeah.
And you know that if you get somebody who has been a secretary in this field for a long time, that
Okay.
you're gonna have to waive that, and they're worth paying. And if we have somebody who has never been a secretary,
So can we put in language basically stating something that they would be paid somewhere between 85 to 95% of the salary based on experience?
I think we should keep it at 90%, but I think
90%.
we should also do it on a case-by-case basis where we have the ability to
Give
waive
them
it,
100.
Yeah.
to give them 100
Full-
if
full
that,
wage, yeah.
if that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
makes
we'll
sense.
start off
Experience
at,
is there.
you'll be
Listen,
starting
these
off at
people enter-
90%, 100% with experience.
Or 100%
With
if-
verified
On a
experience.
case-by-case
Yeah.
basis as deemed by the city.
That's-
It may be
fair.
waived by city council
Correct.
pending experience.
Correct. Now, if you come to
So
us
we
and
can
say,
waive it.
Yeah.
correct,
Right.
if they come to us and say, listen, we interviewed this person and they were fantastic and they've done this here and they've done this there and we want them and we need to pay them this amount, we think we should waive it. We have the availability to do that.
Yeah, I agree.
That makes sense.
Yep.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, that would work.
Waived
90%.
by
yeah.
legislation of city council.
There you go.
Okay.
Well, you
I
guys
have to
agree
have
about
that-
something
I
again?
have to have that, say it that way, just so that auditor officer can pay that. You know what
Yeah,
I'm saying? I can't just waive it myself. Council has to waive it so audit can pay
Do
it.
that across the
right,
board.
right.
So I can,
Show
we
them
can do
love.
that. That's workable.
Oh, he likes you.
Now, would we have to amend the,
That 85% that's written in this contract
Budget.
will be rewritten to say
90%.
90% that may be waived based on experience by
but
city
when we
council.
decide to give them, say, they deserved 100%, will we have to amend that ordinance?
No, I don't think so
no,
because
no,
it's
'cause I
already
think you
in
can
here.
just
It's
pass-
already there.
You can just pass an ordinance saying.
We have the
90% waiver
availability.
has been waived for this
So
individual.
you just need like a roll call vote and
Correct.
we're good,
I think
okay.
we would be okay with that.
Yeah.
John might say otherwise, but
Yeah,
as
well,
far as
we'll
in
see.
my
But I
head,
think a simple
as long as
legislation,
that-
one-time legislation.
right. As long as we're writing that in to give ourselves the
Yeah,
power to be
absolutely.
able to forego that, I
Yes.
think we would be okay.
Okay, sounds good.
You got anything else on here,
No,
Mr. Benson?
that was
Alright.
quite a bit, believe it or not.
Yeah, so let's put in those changes. Let's look these over if we think we need any other changes. Let's pass this next week before council, or no? What do we do?
Three,
Because I'm gonna have to retype all of them, so I would probably wait until next committee meeting.
Okay,
Bring
so-
them out and then-
okay.
I mean,
That's
they're
fine.
retroactive.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that's okay.
Alright,
Okay. What else we got? You got something good, Jim. I know you.
I got
Nothing.
I got nothing.
Okay, fair enough.
I got nothing.
All right, I'm gonna call for adjournment. Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
Second that.
Meeting adjourned.